This first poem is called The Peace Before Dawn. A time when the compositions of the night before start to fade away, after orchestrations of the crickets have cooled down and the taxi ranks are all abandoned. This is when the subtle silence of the peace before dawn slowly creeps in. Between your tissue and sinew, hair and bone, as the bemused night worker slips a quiet key into the lock of his home. There is nothing more like it, the peace before dawn. From the tiny chatter of the sparrow's first chirps, to the vicious noise of commuter coffees and introductory slurps, the twitching awakening of sinew, flesh and bone.
I'm not here to talk about love. This trip is not for pleasure, I'm here on business because I'd like to take this moment to make a genuine plea. My name is Shonny Richards and this is my CV. And not the usual attempt to make the most of every cliche that I can boast as though anyone would actually believe that I'm the perfect employee. I've been there, I've tried it, I couldn't polish a turd so I rolled it in glitter. They said this smells like bullshit, please try harder. But I just grew tired. Tired of trying to actually utilise the first class degree that I achieved at university. And some may think, oh, woe is he who had the opportunity, embraced social mobility and was allowed thousands of pounds of debt to pursue my dreams. So to those that didn't have that chance, please accept my sincere apologies. It's just I'm angry at the system that taught me to believe in higher education. Because since my graduation, it seems more a hindrance than a security. They never told us that paper only counts if it's in accountancy. See, my CV is all about honesty and that's somewhere in between frustration and desperation. And I know, I'm a white British male with no obvious disabilities, I'm the very picture of employability. There are those with such greater needs, how dare he? I could walk into a job. But unfortunately, I guess I'm naive. See, I grew up being asked, what do you want to be? And even though most of the time I could only reply, I don't know. I never once came even close to saying recruitment consultant. And a quick side note to anyone that runs a gallery, please stop advertising for secretaries on the Arts Council website. It doesn't count and the title exhibitions assistant doesn't count. I don't mean to imply that these jobs are beneath me. I know that there are those who thrive in that environment and others that just suffer in silence to pay the rent, and I do respect that. It's just I've got a few autistic tendencies and dealing with people can lead to anxiety, so I don't think those jobs are quite right for me. See, I'm more practical. Hands-on and creative, I want to make things, that's why I became an artist, but funding is like hen's teeth. Always got to prove your eligibility by answering a million questions like how will you benefit the community? But I'm a part of my community and it rarely benefits me, and too many assume that because I love art, I'll do it for free. I live in a country where culture is not valid currency, not enough measurability, you can't set targets to reach and it doesn't like bureaucracy, so if I want to boost this economy I'll just get a job at Sainsbury's and write poetry in my sleep. Or I could always teach. Tell a load more kids to make their dreams into constellations, reach out and take them if they work hard and get good marks, and one day they can be just like me. Because those that can do what exactly? Don't ask me. And I feel I've paid my dues. I've done the minimum wage, a 17-hour day, the 70-hour week. I've done the mundane, the boring and the bleak, and I ain't motivated by money. This isn't an act of greed. I even registered as self-employed instead of unemployed to make sure I always pay my own way. I just wanted a small house and a job that makes me happy. In this day and age I didn't think that was impossible to achieve, but I guess that I was wrong, that I'm still being naive. So go back and ask again, what do I want to be? If I knew then what I know now, then what would I say? Would I still say I don't know, or would my answer change? Would I look my teachers in the eyes and declare with pride, I want to paint, sculpt, draw and write, I want to give the Stranglers a new hero, I want to be Rousseau, spark a revolution, free men from their shackles, I want to be Marx or Engels, just give me the footnotes. I want to paint the Sistine Chapel red and be remembered long after you're dead, so put my face on a £10 note, I'll blow kisses to the Queen. I'll go toe to toe with kings because I'd rather give it all and have nothing than be born to have it all, and one day I will achieve my dreams. As God is my witness, I'll make him my referee because I am Shonny Richards and Blokes to CVs.
I'm going to start off with some poems, or a couple of poems about music, and one of them's about a place not far from here, a bar where you can hear some music sometimes. Improvisation in a Southend bar. formed around the note, sustained and underpinned by frantic drums and rumbling bass, an impression Saint-Saëns would recognise, his swan serene over the frenzied paddling underneath, the harmonics of a falling scale, the rhythms of a city thoroughfare. And there is an audience of 4, 5 in other conversations, the local tramp asleep, and the man waving his arms as if conducting Mahler. The long drawn breath and trumpet tone held above the shuffling beat while counting through to 8. The not quite free, not quite surreal sound of lives, other lives being ignored.
I'm in the wrong fit class. The ladies here are all new. They have a different teacher. There's no sign of Penny McGrew. They still do the same exercises, knees bend, a side stretch or 2, so I might as well join in, though I wish I could see Penny too. That's strange. They all have wings growing. Oh, there's old Penny McGrew, and she has wings sprouting out her back. Oh, and I have feathers too. So, we must all be in heaven. Oh, what a relief to find that keep bits still going strong up here so I won't get a big behind. I wave to my dear friend Penny, and she is so pleased to see me. We'll have a heavenly workout, then go for a donut and tea. We speak differently in Essex, don't we? Have you noticed?
It's not the size of the man in the fight. It's not the size of the fight in the man. Sometimes it's the size of the man you find yourself fighting. Sometimes it's the size of the fight you find yourself in. And the latter was the case many moons ago in the moon on the square after a flying chair that hung in the air came crashing down to earth, followed by the supporting fire of a pint glass, like a warning shot against the bow to test his nerve and his resolve. How the laughter dies and silence reigns after that first shot is fired. And I know the sound well. It's like a doodlebug's engines coughing its last, beginning to descent and falling so fast beyond the stair, and someone say, gasping, never saw incredible artillery blaster. Fuck you playing at? And so begins a war of words, as tiny propaganda mills spring up in heads of lager louts who carefully plot each word and shout they send to press without delay. The next word he begins to say these racial slurs with his and birds, so many shouting none are heard. And battle lines drawn across the floral carpet divide the nation into 2 distinct clans, aka those blokes in the corner throwing stuff and those blokes sitting by the fruit machine. Each steeped in a history that spanned an afternoon, in a feud that lasted a moment, in a bond bound in beer and fear of appearing the lesser man. They break from their trenches. The soldiers clash, the rooms a mess, and spilling drinks and upturned desks and light giraffes, these craning necks of pissheads and punters and little old me. At tender 18. If a picture paints 1,000 words, well then a person paints 1,000,000. And a person's our picture in front of me personified 1,000,000,000 tales of space odyssey ape men grasping clubs and claiming lives. Of Spartans and Athenians on Elysian fields still clashing, killing, colliding as the millennia march on. Our history scarred with so many tales of so many Cains and so many Abels. Yet I stood frozen still. I was unable to kill. I was unable to partake in man's base need to throw a pint, throw a chair, throw a punch or war declare. I guess if you trace my lineage back against a vast expanse of time, you'll see that I am the forgotten son of Abel. And it seems that I'm destined to stand confused and watch from afar as these sons from Cain play their game, as they have and will do since time began. Thank you so much.
It's a pity, really. Doctor, help me, please. I think I have a new disease. I'm bleeding words all around. Some are simple, some profound. They follow me wherever I go. When I'm out in the wind, they blow. They gather together on my chair. They're in the hall, they're on the stair. And when I'm lying in my bed, they wiggle their way into my head. At first it wasn't that bad. Simple words kind of made me glad. I put them away into blank verse. That was just before the curse. A rhyming couplet flying came. Now my life won't be the same. Doctor says, when did this start? Well, my beloved played a part. The poetry group, that's where it's at. Get your coat, where's my hat? Off to the Southend Poetry Group. Now we're getting in the loop. We sat and listened in silent awe to beautiful poems we did adore. When we got home to watch TV, I saw some words had followed me. They sat in a line along my couch. I sat on them and they said, ouch. Then there were just a few, so I gave them feed. Comfy and warm, they started to breed. Now I'm crowded out with them. It isn't nice, it is not zen. Doctor, doctor, what can I do? It's like living in a talking zoo. The doctor said, to me it's clear, I have a very good idea. My surgery's full of the ill. Most of them don't need a pill. They sit out there in a huddle. What they need is a verbal cuddle. With kind words you could ease breaking hearts and painful knees. Words can be a soothing balm. Let's try it, it can't do harm. And so I started to do the work. I gave it my all, I didn't shirk. I stirred the words with loving care. There were plenty for all and some to spare. I mixed them into proper measure. The patients heard them as healing treasure. Now they're all feeling quite well. The doctor hardly hears the bell. Golf is how his day begins. He talks with friends and sips a gin. And so the words are well employed. Me? Well, I'm overjoyed.
There's a lot of people in
All eyes on you.
Okay, this is new.
Sending you love.
Thank you. I run a writing group in my office, and someone came up with the theme success, and I thought I'm going to write a poem about success, and I was thinking, is it about money, is it about fame, is it about wealth? But for some reason my brain decided to do it about a recovering alcoholic who's made to go to a works do. This is it, success. Breathe deep, breathe, breathe deep. His colleagues are talking, mouths flapping loud and open with the bullshit of Friday at 6. The bar ceiling is so low and tinny, nondescript dance music and the smell of beer is mingling in the mix. The bar staff are exclusively pretty girls with Disney fake lashes and broken English tones. The bar is swarmed with working drones doing anything to prolong the day and keep them going home. He's doing everything he can to keep away from temptation, away from the beer. Every single work function he's paralysed by fear. 6 months sober, 6 months proud, 6 months of avoiding the booze-fueled crowd. He knew if he came later, under some fake pretence of overtime, they'd all be a few beers gone by now, or they'd all be on the wine. It's all too close to home for him, the smell of beer and booze. There's way too much at stake now, and too much strength to lose. The guy's eyes are swimming, following those Disney girls back through the crowd, and the girls from the office forget themselves and are dissing the management way too loud. The time comes and they say, "What are you having, mate?" And they're thinking, what beer, what cheap and nasty lager do you wish to partake? Or is it shots, you cheeky devil? Of course he wants a shot, fucking hell mate, you dark horse. Just a Coke, he says. And he waits for the peal of crowing laughter. Just a Coke, mate, you won't last long here. It's Friday, let yourself go. Their exclamation marks hang above his head like a bird shit in mid-flight, waiting to drop on his head and ruin his night, and his face says sorry, and theirs say, suit yourself, be boring mate, see if we care, we are on it tonight. He wants to slip away, hide away, shy away, but one of the girls says, don't listen to them, you can do what you like. Anyway, it's not all about boozing tonight. She sips on a straw, holding his gaze, and he feels his new boy in the office, cheeks ablaze, and the new job suddenly doesn't seem so bad. The nerves in his stomach are a passing fad, and the coke gets drunk, and the people get drunk, and it's another good day. He stands with the new faces, another urge suppressed, another sweet, proud feeling in the middle of his chest. These after-work socials don't need to be a test. The booze doesn't own him. Success, success, success.
Yeah.
Kind of weird. That's not the title, but it is a bit weird. It was a cheap thrill, a guilty pleasure, like throwing a recyclable container into the bin unwashed. You're almost tempted to retrieve it, redeem yourself and clean it, but no, you leave it. Repeat yourself in the pleasure of waste. And it was weird, but not in a James Blake way, where the music starts wonderful, becomes weird, almost intolerable and intoxicating, but if you bear with it, it becomes beautiful again and worth the pain. And weird, but not in a will.i.am way, you know, cute and quirky, but still within the realms of convention, paying into a still-I-am pension. But a weird that really turns your head and stomach. A weird that's too hot to touch, too much to bear, and almost too solitary to share. An airlifted, shape-shifted and gifted sort of weird. But it was so tiny, and not in a teeny tiny tears way, if you're old enough to remember that plastic version of a human child. More in a microscopic seed, a breath of life way, and so life changing. But not in a change in your washing powder way, or in a moving house way, but in a sharing a conversation with a homeless man, changed forever kind of way. Like something that wakes you up at 3 a.m. and you have to write it down. In a finding God moment. Almost like taking a drawer on something illegal, or opening a drawer on something concealable, making it somehow more revealable, conceivable, and that much more believable. This all-consuming, flower-blooming, tower-building thrill of pleasure, this weird and wonderful extension of myself, this tiny yet so vast, life-changing, changed forever sort of thing, was the moment of your conception.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with my offensive sexist humour. So this first one's called Should a Man Marry His Best Friend? A man's best friend being? Why can't a woman be more like a dog? Dogs have 10 tits. Though they're not very big. They're friendly, brave, though they slobber when slogged. But if you don't shave, dogs don't give a fig. Dogs love it when you leave one dirty sock on the bedroom floor. It's called hide and seek. Okay, they eat sick, then drink from the bog, then tongue their arse, then lick you on the cheek. But you gagged on girls with smellier breath, hairier legs, less intelligent eyes. No dog nags their spouse to physical death. Those quizzical brows never criticise. The kids will look ugly. I fear that's true. But at least they won't smear their faces with poo.
This is a little bit how I felt last week. Tonight, I stepped out of the box of
fear and spoke out with clarity and conviction. The words strewn across the page are not just melodic musings, indulgent words strung together to amuse you. No, they're the words that act as glue, sealing and healing the faint hairline crack in my soul that was once a gaping great hole. Layer by layer, I shed the blanket of denial that protects my fragile glass heart. I peel back the layers of regret and spit out the bitterness of remorse, and I pour my anaesthetic down the sink. It's slow and exquisitely painful as my dirty soul is exposed to the light and the hideous truth has set me free. I'm exposed and raw, I'm bleeding poison, vulnerable and naked for the world to see. Yet I'm unashamed in my tattered brokenness. I am alive and real in the frailty of my humanness. I am no longer lost and alone in the prison that was my mind, as I am met by God.
This is called Middle Name. The question bats her off the course of her conversations. She steps back, softens, becomes coy, and then the shutters of her life open like lashes. She says, Elizabeth. 3 syllables that promise a song and end in a whisper, given for a grandmother or a whim. I pocket it like silver, this secret name that hides in between the peaks and peals of your everyday sound. Oral shapes to wrap wondering around. This is called Vanishing Point. It tugged me from my mother's house, that same river that bore her from city to suburb to sea, first flush to middle age, came for me. On the lip of the east's wide mouth, my lover waited while I walked past the twinkling paunch of the fun fair, to where road and coast split like hair. From here, you see nothing. Beyond, you sense menace, hulking renown, a wreck full of bombs, prowling freights, and the earth's very edge, lying in wait.
And it's called Bathrobe Revolution. It worked for John Lennon. If you've done fuck all your life, it doesn't work. I sat at home alone in my bathrobe and spent days pondering the ways in which I'd save, change, or at least band-aid the world, if I could be asked. I thought I'd start with the heart of man. I'd expand it to such a degree that my contemporaries couldn't help but love me. And the fact that perhaps that sounds a little twee isn't lost on me. Believe me, but more importantly, maybe with enlarged hearts we'd listen a little better to one another. And with a heightened sense of oneness, maybe a case could be made for a kind of spiritual communism, whereby the world's gravity and levity could be divvied up and dished back out so that nobody would have to go without a friend. And yes, we too then have adopted messes to be processed, but maybe walking side by side, feeling each other's joy and pain, perhaps finally the twain of you and I, or us and them, could meet. And when we'd speak, we'd be able to cast the football, ego and battle-scarred pride aside and talk about reality, our frailty, and reasons not to take it all too seriously. And even with our very bones exposed, we feel comfort in knowing that we're growing, but perversely in reverse, getting back, returning somewhere closer to where we're supposed to be. And if I could just get inspired to have my kettle rewired, I'd have a caffeine kick and feeling less tired. I'd spend a week at least on the Middle East because frankly, it's buggered. Armies and insurgents I could conquer, one man marching unarmed, a diplomat with a heart attached, but it's actually someone else's patch. Personally, I'm detached, but many feel his blood still runs from the heart of these parts. And if he's coming back, if he's their saviour, you have to wonder, what the hell more could he be waiting for? And I can't be the only soul feeling a little confused and deceived by the process of peace. Just don't kill people. Simple. And for the cynical, go with it a minute. For the educated, suspend it.
For the cynical and educated, you're mostly hated, but you're okay by me, and we find our way neatly to naivety. But naivety can beget bravery, just as oppression begets slavery, just as loving me begets betraying me, just as history forgets mediocrity. So we have to be brave, and not be afraid to make like a beggar, crying out day after day for change. And if that means being naive, that's fine. I'm at the front of the line, because the list of the times I define myself that way wouldn't fit on your average orangutan sleeve. But back in my flat I wasn't happy, still having a few things to do. The power shower needs looking at, and the car's MOT's a year overdue. But there are industries that have a mind to core shape, rattle to the bone, that I alone could revolutionise. Books I could write and publish, novels designed to wrench open minds. And with time on my side I'd quench the third world's thirst, but at worst, if not, never mind. Because one day soon, when I can be asked, I'll definitely get around to taking the recycling bin down. Thank you. Johnny Richards and Olmo are much better poets than me, by the way.